Right age.
That's what.
Okay, our recording is in progress. All right, we have two more chapters left. I don't think we'll get through both today, but they're two separate sort of goodbye speeches from Yehoshua. And believe me, I'm well thinking about our next limud. So I think, well, let's say we have this week and next week to finish. Then we have the final exam, the third week. No.
Why don't we do that? Go.
Oh, so then I said we have a couple of weeks to do a little Haggadah,
Great idea.
little Pesach stuff. Remember, and everybody has to present. We did that once.
That was good.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that again, and just putting everybody on notice. That's like even if you're on Zoom, you have to present, and then that brings us to after Pesach. So I have a couple of thoughts. So the continuing in Navi did not get a lot of popular votes. Going back to Parsha got a lot of popular votes. But I thought, and I'll just throw the idea out now, and I'm thinking about doing something maybe having to do with the thought and teachings of Rabbi Sachs. Yeah. So in what arena, I don't know whether it's his philosophical teachings is, I think
Let's just go through his book.
his book on Jewish unity, I think is really important. His book on Jewish unity is great. It was like written before he was writing to the masses, so to speak. So it's a little bit, more complicated than his regular writing, but there's plenty of stuff. So I mean, yes, exactly. So anyway, let's see this chapter 23. Vayihi miyamim rabim acharei asher hiniach Hashem liYisrael mikol oivehem misaviv Yehoshua zakein ba bayamim. And it was in the many days after Hashem had given rest to Israel from all their surrounding enemies, Yehoshua was well old in years. By the way, the Zakein Ba B'Yamim we find by Avraham. It says Avraham Zakein Ba B'Yamim v'Hashem Beirachas Avraham Bakol. Some say what is Bakol? Some say Bakol is that he had a daughter. Maybe her name was Bakol, or it's the same gematria as Bakol. I don't know, something like that. But what I found to be interesting also is actually, and it applies to this week's Parsha. This is one of those weeks. It's Parsha Zachar this week, so everybody has to hear Parsha Zachar, right? It's like, oh God, I go to shul this week. Oh my gosh, can't they? Is there like just a Zachar reading? Like, can't they swing by my house and just read it? So
Sefer Torah, right?
Yeah, okay, I guess Sefer Torah, right? Yeah, yeah. We actually do it again at the end of davening, in case anybody came late, which is unlikely. Nobody ever comes late.
Just in case.
They just don't come early.
Is that even really legit?
Totally legit.
Okay.
What do you do if you're in COVID and you're in lockdown and you can't?
No. I know people. It happens to be my son-in-law's parsha with Zachar, and he goes around and helps people.
See that? You're like a family of helping people or something.
We try.
Amazing. You're amazing. Okay, so in the end, the last pasuk of Zachar, which comes from Parshas Kiseitze, which you always remember where it is in the Stone Chumash. It's on page 1044. 1044, Battle of Hastings. That's how you remember it. Okay. So, and the pasuk there says, "V'haya b'haniach Hashem alekecha lecha mikol ovecha misaviv ba'aretz asher Hashem alekecha nosan lecha nachal l'rishtat timche es zecher amalek mitachas hashamayim lotichach." But it's a very similar kind of structure. It says here we have "Vahi acharei asher hiniach Hashem l'Yisrael v'haya b'haniach Hashem alekecha mikol ovecha misaviv mikol ovecha misaviv." Right, so we have those two similar phrases. It's reminding me of, so it's apropos that we got to this pasuk now in the week of Parsha Zachar. But anyway, that Hashem is gonna take care of your enemies. Now Yehoshua is gonna come and first he's gonna speak to a certain public. One has, and by the way, let's put it this way: if you were giving your farewell speech after everything that you had been through as Joshua, meaning you were in slavery in Egypt, you saw how Moshe rose to prominence and what he did I'm just going to open the door for him, and what he did to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt. And then you saw what happened with, here we go.
So good.
Oh, you see that? It's like I knew you were there. And you saw all the ups and downs. I spoke about it this past Shabbos in Shul that like the book of Shemos is sort of like ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. I mean, that's the story of our lives, but certainly the Jewish historical life is, what happens. So people complaining, They got the Torah. They complain. They got the golden calf, spies, this generation. And that generation doesn't make it in. And finally, Yehoshua brings it in and he completes the job. Moshe doesn't get to go into the land of Israel. Yehoshua gets to bring him into the land of Israel. And we just saw all these years, 14 plus years of conquering, a couple of bumps along the way as well. What's your parting message to the Jewish people? What would you say? Okay, that's good. That's fair.
Don't lose faith.
Okay, don't lose faith in what?
Shem and the leader, they lost faith so many times.
Okay. So in other words, he would say sort of like the second paragraph of Shema of, if you,
Sorry.
why are you sorry?
So late.
You're not late. You're just not early. I just said that a minute ago, about other people, not you. Here we go. Chapter 23. So it's not in the second paragraph of Shema is the, if P, then Q. If not P, then not Q. I remember that from math. Wasn't that a thing? But that's not the contrapositive. The contrapositive, if not Q, then not P, I think was whatever. I don't know. You have smart kids. Tell me, am I right?
I told them to go to their father.
See, there you go. That's what I tell you.
That's why she's the smartest than any of them.
Yeah. I tell you the worst thing. My father was a besides being an accomplished medical physician, he was a math genius. He got a master's degree in statistics from Columbia before he even decided to go to medical school. So he first goes to medical school, he's like 29. Imagine somebody at 29 saying, I'm going to go to medical school. Like if you're not figured out by the time you're bar mitzvah where you're going to medical school, then you're done. So my worst fear ever, and I'm a more of a creative brain thinker, as you can imagine, not so much a math and science. I mean, I could do it, I just didn't want to. So my worst fear is in ninth grade, I had to ask him for help with algebra. And I was like, and the way he did not have patience for, people that didn't get things, and he didn't understand like why I couldn't get things, which I understand that. And I remember asking at one point, I go, but Dad, I go, why are there letters instead of numbers? And he's like, oh, he's like, this is about. I think I managed to still do well in the class, but it's okay, despite that. So the if P, then Q, if you follow the words of Hashem, then Hashem will give you all the blessings. Geshamim be'itam, and produce, etc. However, if you don't follow in the ways of Hashem, then guess what? All these things, meaning everything that we have until now, learn from it's very simple. If you're Yehoshua, you're giving that message, it's learn from history. Learn from our mistakes. We've made a lot of mistakes. And Hashem still is there for us, first of all. Second of all, don't lose faith, like you said, in Hashem or in your leaders. Vayaminu b'Hashem uve Moshe avdo. I had to believe not only in Hashem, but also in Hashem's messengers. It's the only time Moshe's name is mentioned in the Haggadah, is uve Moshe avdo. Also to behave. Like sometimes and that's the message that Moshe Rabbeinu gave at the sea before the sea splits. Moshe's he cries out to Hashem. He's like, what do I do? That they're coming and the thing, and it is Hashem says, "Let them gain." To quote the great Blazing Saddles, right? Let them gain. He says, "Matitzak elai daber el bnei Yisrael v'yiso." What are you crying out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and go. Sometimes you just have to go. Just do. Stop it. I heard somebody. I've in the last few months, I'm shying away from worrying about hurting people's feelings, because we spend so much time about saying the right thing and not offending anybody that look where it gets us. I'm sick and tired. of it. I'm so annoyed with everybody in the world, and like we have to live to a different standard than the rest of 99.9% of the society in the world. And you can go and you could kill 1 million people in China and nobody cares and nobody questions your right to have a country, and on and on and on and on and on. And I'm sick and tired of being nice about it. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, and we got to get the right people in the right places. So this is Yehoshua's speech. Okay, so here he goes. But I just wanted to show you that it's a very similar to an Amalek phrase. These two phrases here. Asher hiniach mikol oivehem misaviv. Vayikra Yehoshua lechol Yisrael lezekenav ulerashav ulashavtav uleshotrav vayomer lehem ani zakanti basi bayamim. he calls all of Israel, and then he calls also. How do you call all of Israel? It's a lot of people. I mean, if they had settled in their land, so like, did he have we don't know where this took place. A mass gathering. The next one, we know where it takes place. But here he has this sort of, does it mean that he called everybody or just to represent everybody? We have these as well, but who do we have? We have the Zakanim, the elders, the heads of the families of the tribes or whatever, the judges, the lawmakers, the Shotrav, and he says, first thing, Ani zakanti ba bayamim. Basi bayamim. It may seem like an innocuous phrase, but it's one that, by the way, a lot of people cannot utter. To say, like, my time is done, like I'm done. A lot of people have trouble letting go when it comes to, especially in positions of leadership, in positions of authority, or anybody who's in any sort of, I don't know, public eye. They have a hard time letting go. Presidents, actors, athletes, right? I always said one of the best, one of the great things I always admired about Jerry Seinfeld, of all people, right? Besides being like one of the greatest shows on television ever, which is on Netflix now, is that he kind of like stepped away when he's at the peak of his career. He really did. Some athletes tried to do it, but they just couldn't. Wait, here she comes. We got the buzzer back, but now it doesn't actually open the door, so. Click, right? So he left at the peak of his career. How many athletes have done that? I'm sure you guys follow closely. Some left, but then they couldn't handle it and like came back. Like Michael Jordan, he left, but he never really left. He just kept coming back. But the same thing, by the way, happens, and it's a big problem. It's a big problem with rabbis of synagogues. Rabbis of synagogues who are like far past their prime. Okay. And they're like 23, and they're but he's been here for 40 years, like, and when synagogues are run emotionally and not intelligently, or then you run into whole other problems. No one has ever been in a synagogue where they didn't have issues like that. No one is like, we live in Livingston, so of course we've had that. But no one has ever, there's always, it's a problem. So like, I'm thinking right now, for instance, I try to take this seriously. So I'm approaching 30 years of my career almost. I know I started when I was like 14. I know that, clearly. But I'm thinking like, what's the right way to exit gracefully and not become sort of, because when you have no motivation to work, more, that's why I think the worst thing for rabbis is long-term or certainly lifetime contracts. Worst thing in the world, because you lose motivation, you lose. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We could talk offline a little bit too. I mean, I understand that rabbi wants job security, but at the same time, it's like, did you really just give me a contract for lifetime? My wife won't even give me a lifetime contract. So, but so I think it shows a lot of the humility, and we've seen it from the great figures, as he says, is Ani zakanti basi bayamim. I'm done. I'm old. And what was hit the rock, speak to the rock, this and that? Why is it that Moshe couldn't bring that generation into Israel? So one fundamental reason is that Moshe could not relate to that newer generation. He did not know how to speak to them. He's a hit the rock kind of guy, and they're like a speak the rock kind of guy, right? You can't hit a kid anymore. You have to talk about their feelings. Now, I know this is not going to be very popular. Sometimes a kid needs a good smack. I'm sorry. That's how I grew up, right? Sometimes I'm probably not even allowed to say that. Now it's going to be seen by a dozen people on this video.
That's what
I know, but like I said, I'm tired of like, tiptoeing around people. You know what? And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm like, my father, like on a couple of occasions, he gave me a good smack. And by the way, and I really deserved it. And there's no question I deserved it. And guess what? Am I going to sue him? Do I hate him? Is he abusive? No, chas v'sholom. He loves me. And that's sometimes the right thing to do. But Moshe didn't understand how to speak the language. Like now, I can't speak to even like the 25-year-olds. I don't know how to speak to them. right? That's why I'm an assistant rabbi. Like, I have no idea to relate to them or to talk to them. Like, what do I know? Teenagers today? Oh my God. I have my daughter, she had like, I don't know, one shop, she had 10 friends over. So we just went over a whole vocabulary of words that they use that I don't know what they mean. Words like this is a quote from the Shabbos table just this week. I know we're talking about Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You know what? Yom Kippur davening really slaps.
It's Elon's favorite thing to use to my kids with the wrong part of speech.
Yeah.
Just to get them bumped.
Yeah.
Is it slapping already?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Slaps means, I'm sorry.
It means like
Good thing.
Positive.
It's a good thing.
like it's like really hits home, but it means like it's really good. And if you like tell a joke and it doesn't go well, or you mess something up, you bricked. Brick. I'm going to brick this. So we went through all this lingo. So I don't know, like I was talking to the head of my daughter's seminary, the head of my daughter's seminary. He goes, neither you or I could ever get hired here because we're too old to teach these. Like, we can't teach seminary girls or seminary boys, like some yeshiva boys. We're just too old. And that's true. So what am I good for?
Well, it's in the workforce too.
That's it. I'm over.
My husband managing like young guys now, it's completely different than when he was first starting to work.
And especially millennials, because you have to do everything you do is HR, right? You have this in your firm, I'm sure, Lean. Like, HR is like the head, the be all and end all of everything. I'm here 3 weeks. Where's my title? Where's my position? Where's my recognition? And I deal with this when I mentor a lot of younger rabbis from all across the streams, not just Orthodox rabbis. And I try to say to them, like, you just wait till you have your first difficult president or real dust up, and then you're not going to be able to go to your rubber room and say,
There's an example of something that I think has improved for the younger generation. What they do for rabbinic what they do in the smicha programs now to train them in terms of the other facets of your job, because the 17 hats that you wear, you did not have the benefit of that.
I did not, which is why I take it seriously to help out younger guys, and which a lot of the times is talking people out of going into the rabbinate.
Mother always said, we would be happy with whoever you bring home. We'll be happier if they're not rabbis.
Right. I mean, that's because some people I encourage too. I encourage some I just say, yeah, this is not for you. Like, you have to have the right kind of personality and kishkas, or you have to act, maybe, I don't know, like people. But yeah, so we have that ability, but they have to also want to listen. Because sometimes, their whole lives they've been told how great they are, how amazing they are. And exactly, and everybody got a trophy, and everybody got a participation award, and blah 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 blah. I mean, you don't need me to explain this to you, but it's like, really. And then, what do you mean? Like, I can't have my way? What do you mean? Yeah. So I don't know how to deal with them. I'm when I first encountered this, I was completely blown away, and also at the level of chutzpah with which they speak to other people, this entitlement chutzpah. I mean, I'm like, whoa. And they're not all like that, but I've encountered enough to like make me like, ugh.
But the good ones do it too.
Yeah. I mean, something even, this is a pet peeve of mine. Eliana knows my biggest pet peeve of all time. But one of my pet peeves is people who start emails or like, first of all, you're writing email as a text. Email's not a text. Or when they start anything, when they write, hey, they think like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm not like, you don't start with, hey, I don't like that. You're a writer, right? We can do that? No, hey, okay. I like the latest JNF magazine. So
Thank you.
very nice.
I'm going to be the editor for the next 6 months while
Wow.
the editor's on maternity leave.
Love that. Okay. Well done.
Great.
Well done. We hit the $1 billion roadmap. We hit it and then some. Okay. So he says, but there's a lot to be said when you just say, the Torah says he was Zaken, but he himself says it. You have to be self-aware. You have to know where you stand on things. And too often people, especially in positions of leadership, they don't know. They don't have someone who's in their ear saying like, yeah, maybe it's time. I'm relying on all of you for that. So you have all seen. So just remember what you have seen. Everything that Hashem has done to all these nations. We got it with 31 nations. By the way, they haven't even done yet. The full conquest or settlement doesn't happen until like the time of David HaMelech. But you've seen everything that Hashem's done to all these nations. And who really fought for you? Who's the one that really battled? I know you went to war, but it's Hashem Elokeichem hu hanelchem lachem. Re'uhi palti lachem as hagoyim hanishirim ha'ila benachalol l'shiftechem meni yarden v'chol hagayim asher ichrati v'hayam hagadol meva shomesh. He says, look at all the territories. Hipalti, like no fail, like I've given out all these territories for you, and the ones that are remaining, they're going to be a heritage for your tribes already from the Jordan all the way to the Mediterranean, towards the east, to the setting. I'm sorry, to the west, to the setting of the sun. V'Hashem Elokechem hu yehedofei mipneichem v'horisho sam milifneichem v'rishtem es artzam kasher diber Hashem Elokechem lachem. And who is it? No, in other words, notice how he doesn't say anything about himself. It's Hashem, 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 Hashem. Hashem, your God. Who's the one that's going to chase them out? He's the one that's going to inherit the land and give it to you. He's the one that's going to allow you to take over the land, just like he has always spoken to him. V'chazaktem ma'od. Remember how the book started? The book started Chazak v'emlatz 13, 14 times. He starts Chazak, ends Chazak. V'chazaktem ma'od. So therefore, what's your part? If Hashem's going to do everything, then what do I have to do? No, you have to do your part. Your part is v'chazaktem ma'od. You have to be strengthened. Strengthen yourself to do what? Lishmor v'la'asos eskol hakosuv b'sefer Toras Moshe v'vilti sur mimenu yamin ismo. Your job is to safeguard and to perform everything that is written in the Torah of Moshe, making sure not to stray, not to waver, not to drift right or left. Just do what you're told. Like how we said it to our kids, like, just do what you're supposed to do and stop machem mitzaros, right? Can you not? Right? You know that Hashem is punishing me right now every single day. I could say this, it's already like fairly common knowledge now, but I thought I was in the clear. I had these 5 girls, and like, what? Baruch Hashem, they're wonderful students and they're beautifully behaved and like never had issues. The little teenage drama here and there, whatever. Oh my God, she's matching. I don't want to be in this friend group for the costumes on Purim, and that friend with like the Purim costumes, right? You remember that drama? Like, but what do we do when I have a 2nd grade boy who gets suspended from school? What do I do? I say, oh Hashem, you're paying me back. I know what it's like. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Yeah, that's what's happening. It's I try a contest. How many days can we go without getting called from a teacher or a principal or somebody? What do you have to do to get suspended from school when you're in 2nd grade?
I'm smoking again.
Yeah, the good stuff. No, he brought his edibles to school. No, it's and he well deserved it too. So that also it throws the administration off when they.
Worse. It's funny because he's not yours.
No, but what I love is when the administration calls or when the teachers call, and they're like, they always brace themselves for like the pushback, and I'm like, yeah, I got to throw the book at him. And they're like, yeah, I'm sure he did it. I'm sure he's 100%. They're like, what? I'm like, I'm sure I guarantee you he did something wrong, and if not, he knows he did. Yeah, trust me. And we never like, oh, what about this one? I'm like, no. When they write that he did something good, they feel the need to send us. We're so proud he did this, and I'm like, are you talking about my kid? Like what? So, anyway, so that's just I'm like, just do what you're supposed to. Like, don't come on. It's wrong. You're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. And A, B, C, D, you're not supposed to. Just don't do it. Don't sort Yemin is small. Levilti boba goyim ha'ila hanishem leitchem uv'shem leihem lo zaskir lo zashpiv lo savdim lo yishtach v'lahem. And
If I read the button on the side,
I know.
It doesn't mean it doesn't open the door.
I know. We're lucky we got the button back. It's a big. It's a big. One step at a time. Security wasn't built in a day. To come to these nations who still remain with you, they mention the name of their gods. Don't cause us to swear by them. You shouldn't serve them. Don't bow down to them. Because again, it just to illustrate the powerful nature of the draw, of the enticement, of the lure of these gods. Like we look at it, we're like, yeah, well, God, Shmad. Well, like, let me ask you, do you ever drive by a church? Like, do you ever walk by on 5th Avenue on your way to Saks, the Mecca, which on the 7th floor, the women's shoe department has its own zip code? You know that, right? No? Anyway.
I just walk across the street, but no, I don't.
Yes, it's actually the floor is called by the zip code. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, I have a lot of girls in my house. But on the way, let's say you're walking from, a few blocks before and you pass by St. Patrick's Cathedral on the left. And, there's the big globe guy, the Atlas guy on the right, my wife's office is right there. And, but let's say you did.
Illuminate me.
And you're walking and the doors of St. Patrick's are open. And you could see that's beautiful. By the way, have you ever see the whatever it's called, the Basilica in Newark, that giant church? When you go on 280 next and you pass by the lottery signs, and then you think to yourself, what would I do if I won all that money? Everybody thinks that when you drive by the lotteries. After the merge and you drive by, tell me you don't, tell me everybody does. Okay. If you look right on that point, if you look to the left, there's also a beautiful cherry blossom walk if you want to do that, if you want to if you're armed and you want to go look at the cherry blossoms. But there's a huge, it's a block long building with spires and this and that. It's the big archdiocese or whatever it's called, Basilica Church in Newark. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal structure. I mean, maybe look on Google Earth, you could see it. But when you walk by and you see the doors open of St. Patrick, and you see I don't know, they're having a Hashkama minion in there, whatever's going on. And you're looking in and you're like, I not once ever had any desire whatsoever to go in there. Especially when I see on the wall, the Jesus thing on the wall with the blood on it. And he's
Nope.
It doesn't do it for me. When I see a bunch of guys bowing down on the floor in a mosque, and I'm thinking if I had to do that, I'm not interested in that. Bad enough if to do it on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. I feel so weird on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur when we do that. When we go all the way down on the floor, I just feel really off. But I never had any temptation oh yeah, I want to check it out. Or when I look, across the street, this shul across the street, Sunday they rock 5 minyanim. They have more police than you can imagine. The traffic going there, wow, they got some stuff going. Never once did I have a desire to walk in there and see what's going on. But in the time of the Navi, the Gemara says that they actually removed the Yetzer Hara to a degree for Avodah Zarah. They removed the desire, the inclination to want to worship idols. They said, really? One Amora comments to the other, it was so bad. He's if you would have been there, he's you would have been the first one online.
Why was it so strong?
It was. I don't know why. Why? Some things.
I'm being serious. How much? Right? What was going on?
It was kind of it meant perhaps giving meaning to your life or longer life or salvation or, the dark side, if you will.
For the curiosity of seeing how I have limbs.
Yeah. It was a sort of ecstasy type of, existence when they would worship these gods, however they did, taking your babies and burning them through hot fire. Yeah, that's really exciting. But believe it or not, it's a thing. The Torah talks about it. It was a thing, and then people used to do it. I'm wow. So the warnings from Moshe and now from Yehoshua and throughout the Navi obviously are focused on these dangers. So he says don't come into worshiping their gods. Don't bow down to them. Ki im b'Hashem lekechem tidbaku kasher asisem ad hayom hazeh. You should only cling to God. Hashem, your God. Cling, that's the word that we see many, many times in Sefer Devarim. Tidbaku is to have devekus. And just like you've done up until now. And what's going to happen? Vayoresh Hashem mipnechem goyim gedolim atzamim. V'atem lo amad ish b'fnechem ad hayom hazeh. And because Hashem has driven out tremendously powerful nations from before you, and no one has stood against you to this day. By the way, that's a similar phrase that we're going to read on Saturday night and on Sunday. And it's one of the Greek sieves, actually, in the Megillah. We say, V'ish lo amad lifnehem, v'ish lo amad bifnehem, that after discussing the victory, that no one ish lo amad bifnehem, no one stood in their way when they conquered after the story was over. And here's a little funny, interesting tidbit of information. This is great for the Shabbos table, okay? Aline, you're going to like this. You're going to use this, okay? This coming Shabbos is the one time in, I don't know, I think ever, that from a period of morning through night, so let's say from, 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, meaning in that time window, in one day period, the most possible psukim that could be read in shul.
Is this weekend?
This weekend, because you have Parshas Vayikra, we learn Zachor.
Mhm.
The Haftorah for Zachor is extremely long. It's a story of Shaul and Agag. Mincha, we learn Tzav, and then at night we learn Megillas Esther. Megillas Esther, which is only a few psukim longer than Parshas Naso. I think it comes in at 180 psukim. So it's something 350 psukim in that time period. So you want to make sure you get that all in. That's a good way to sell shul. Oh, and you have to hear Zachar. So that's I think maybe the next week. I don't know because we're doing a special Israel Band Shabbos for him. So I think it makes sense to do it then. And here also, this should sound familiar. Ish echad mikem yidaf elef, ki Hashem Elokechem hu anelchem lachem kasher diber lachem. One of you will chase 1,000 or has chased 1,000, because Hashem your God, He fought for you when He spoke of you. This is similar to the promise that's given in the Tochacha, that one will chase 1,000, 10 will chase 10,000, whatever the configuration is I saw this when in our mission when we went to Israel, our very, very first stop. I got there last. We started Monday morning. I arrived Monday morning. Everybody else got there before Shabbos. Some people got there on Sunday. So we all had a place to meet, but we all met at Tel Nof Air Force Base. Because as you know, one of our former members here moved to Israel, the Spialter family, and Ben, who was a pilot, he decided he got his little access to the Air Force Base. We weren't allowed to take pictures there. We couldn't report on it. We couldn't say anything. I actually had to have one guy change his post because he was giving too much information, and we did the whole Top Gun thing, which is like, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like we watched F-15s take off. And he let us go in the plane and check it out and see and explain everything, like super, super cool. But in the operations room, and he showed us his helmet, he has this helmet, which costs like $100,000. And you could use eye motions to when you fire a missile, you could use your eye motion to direct where the missile goes. Yeah. But these guys are pretty trained. Okay. But in the entrance to their control room, they have all the pictures of every jet that they've shot down. They show it like, MiG something in 1979, Syrian MiG or whatever this. They have all the names, the pilots when they passed their first course. They have the fallen pilots, or 3 who fell in a training accident. But there's a pasuk on top, which is like this. And it says, Ish echad mikem yidaf elef. But it's a similar to the one that's found in Devarim, but one will chase 1,000. One pilot in a plane is awesome. I mean, it was just really, really cool. Yeah, we had a lot of highs and lows on that trip, but it was really something. But Baruch Hashem. So why? Because Hashem is the one who fights for you. It's like how we have spoken. You have to be very careful and guard your souls to love your God. Now, what does one have to do with guarding your soul, protecting your soul, and loving God? You'd say, I love God. What does that mean? We say, Ahava es Hashem, to love God. What does that mean? We say it a lot. What does that mean, to love God? Like you write notes, you send a text. Hey, you have to remember to say, hey, God, I'm here.
To serve Him.
Hey, God, are you there? It's me, Margaret. To serve Him? But how does that show love? So that's maybe in a relationship, right? So part of loving is accepting everybody with their pluses and mostly minuses. Yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, even so, I still love you, right? It's like that, yeah. I ask every single person who's married for a long time, I know they're married for 50 years, 40 years, 60 years. I was like, what's the secret?
Let it go.
I always said, I get a lot of different, I should write a book on that. It won't be a very long book, but it's a lot of it is just listening, accepting people for who they are. I always say, like my family, we have the joke, so we go out twice a week. She goes on Tuesday, I go on Thursday. That's what we say. But a lot of it is, I try, don't stay angry. I don't buy the don't go to bed angry bit, because sometimes
it's healthy.
Sometimes you can't.
Better off to. You can't fight while you're angry.
Right.
It's healthy.
Right. Sometimes you got to go to bed angry. The Gemara.
Couples who go to ShopRite together.
What?
Couples who go to ShopRite together. We have a couple of couples in our shul who do that.
Interesting.
Not like old people, like people our age, because we're not old. That fascinates me whenever I see it, because I asked Elon one time, I said, what do you think about coming to ShopRite? And he's like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
I know, this is why we're so
Right. And you got to
divide and conquer.
Right. Also, don't
He goes to ShopRite, I go to Traders.
Right,
Yeah.
or my week, your week,
and don't force.
I did that once when I physically needed Jeff to help me, and I was like, this is weird that people do this recreationally.
Right.
Definitely lived in here. That was the only time that we
I
had nothing. We had
won
nothing in the
once a
house.
year.
My kids were in here. My babysitter was bringing the next day. We had only canned goods that came with us from Englewood. We did not know what time ShopRite closed. This is before Pathmark. Is that what used to
It was
exist?
Pathmark,
So
it was
our
good.
ShopRite used to close at 9:30. So we went to get pizza and then we went to go,
Pathmark.
like we walk in and we're like, oh, the parking lot's so empty. We'll be in and out so fast. There's a woman coming at us. We're going in at like 8:30 or something, or it was 9, whatever it was. And she's like, honey, they close in half an hour.
Big
We're like,
culture
what?
shock.
Tore the list in half. We did like one of those, like running through the store. She's like, quick, go, don't even bother here. Go to West Orange. They're opening an extra hour.
Culture shock.
That's the only time we shopped.
See, but you got to find something that you can do together, and you have to respect that when you have things that you need to do apart, right? Somebody's like, "Do you play golf with your wife?" I'm like, "God forbid, no! Oh my God, no, why would I want to do that?" Right? So it's so le'ava is to, but part of it is v'nishmartem lo l'nafshosechem, because if you're going to care and love someone else or something else, you got to watch yourself because you're the one who changes. When you change and you decide, oh, hey, I don't like blonde hair anymore. I don't like whatever it is, then you can't just say, oh, I'm going to give up on my love just because you changed. So here when we talk about God, it's nafshosechem, it's your soul.
Why do they say le and not et? Nishmar temeod et nafshe.
Oh. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
There
know.
was something
I don't know.
cryptic.
I mean,
That's your homework, I think.
yeah.
I'll find out.
If I wish I knew. I'm sure there's something. I don't know. Some grammar people. But the
No, it's very.
no, it's a good point. Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Yeah. Sometimes you have to. Rashi just it just says ba'avur kiyum nafshosechem. Okay, I don't know if that really answers it, but the idea is your soul is corruptible. Your soul, it's a very Hasidic thought also. Chasol, they always talk about the dross, or in the Yiddish they use it, not such a nice word, it's called drek. They use and you have to always like scrub it off so you can get to the inner part of the beauty of your soul, which is beautiful, which is wholesome. Okay.
Watch that company.
And look at this. So look at this. And then here comes the whopper of all whoppers, what you think like we're living in a time. This is when it happened. Ki'im shov tashuvu udvaktem b'yes ha'goyim ha'ele and Hashem ha'ele itchem b'hischatantem behem u'vosav behem b'chem. What's going to happen? If you turn away, you cling to the rest of these nations, those that remain with you. And by what? B'hischatantem. And you marry them or you intermarry with them. And you're going to have them, you're going to go into them, and they're going to come into your family. You should know for sure. I can tell you one thing is for sure. Hashem will no longer continue to serve you and provide for you and drive out these nations. What's going to happen? They're going to be an obstacle. They're going to be a trap for you. They're going to be a pain in your sides. They're going to be a thorn in your eyes until you're banished from this goodly land Hashem your God has given to you. You're going to try so hard to fit in. I want to be like them. I want to be them. I want them to be me. We're going to be accepted. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to be the biggest pains in your tuchus ever. You could say that pasuk anytime, anywhere, any generation. Right? So there you have it. It's actually one of the strongest times we have. Like, don't marry them. I tell all the bar mitzvah kids already. I start with the bar mitzvah kids, the bat mitzvah girls. I say, because you're going to go off to college, because that's the biggest ideal in the world. College, woohoo, college, is that, you know what? If you don't date them, you won't marry them. So don't date them. Don't spiel around like, just don't. Just know that there's certain things that are off limits, and don't do it. And I know it's like, there's no foolproof method, and everybody has it in their family, and everybody suffers from it, and everybody, like, nobody's an exception to this rule. And I know people who have done everything right their whole lives, and it still happens. What are you going to do? I don't know. But we have to try, though. We have to. It doesn't mean we should stop giving the message. Here, Yehoshua says, he's not even done yet, and he's like, don't marry them. Don't intermarry. Because guess what? It's going to come back to haunt you. They're going to torture you. Oh, look, we're so great in America. We're so entrenched in America. Look how well they're treating us now. Again, I said on Shabbos, if you haven't read Franklin Foer's article in the Atlantic, I highly, it's a very, very long article. It's like a 24-page article, but the end of the golden age of Judaism, phenomenal. I mean, scary, but phenomenal because the way he presents it. You may not agree with his conclusions, whatever, but looking at the trend of anti-Semitism from, before the war, after the war, through the 90s when we thought it was over, and now, oh my God, it's back and it's worse than ever before. Yeah, okay, that's what happens. והנה אנכי הולך היום בדרך כל הארץ, וידעתם בכל לבבכם וכל נפשכם, כי לא נפל דבר אחד מכל הדברים הטובים אשר דיבר השם אלוקיכם לכם, הכל בו לכם לא נפל ממנו דבר אחד. And he says, look, I'm going like the way the world goes. Means I'm going to die, but you have to know with all your heart and all of your soul that everything Hashem had promised you, everything I told you all those years, he has never fallen short, right? Everything has happened, not one where it didn't take place. In other words, everything Hashem promised, he gives. We say it in the Haggadah, Baruch Shomer Havtachaso. We bless Hashem who keeps his promise. V'hayok hasher ba'lechem kol davar atov asher diber Hashem Elokeichem alechem. Kein yavi Hashem alechem as kol davar hara al hishmido aschem mi'al hadma hadavar azos asher nasan lechem Hashem Elokeichem. Very, very long-winded. And just as every good thing that Hashem has told you will come to you, Hashem will bring every bad thing until he will kick you off this land that he's given you. In other words, as good is, that's how bad is. By the way, isn't that the same thing with marriage? As good as it was when you started, that's how bad it could be. That's why when I talk to couples, and I won't do a marriage unless we do the halachic prenup. Okay, that's just a matter of policy. I won't do it. And they rightfully so. They asked the question of, well, why are you talking about divorce when we're like, like okay. First of all, I asked them how many friends of yours are married, how many of them are divorced. I'm like, it's a reality. And I said, as much as you love each other now, you're going to hate each other 100 times more than when you get divorced and you want to do mean things to each other. Let's hope it doesn't get to that. But this is a sign of your affection right now, a sign of your commitment and your dedication. We're going to do this. And they do. And also because I say, I won't do the meeting otherwise. But that's the reality. We don't like to face reality. But Avraham, let's just finish this parak. Ba'avrachem es bris Hashem Elokeichem asher tzivah eschem v'alachtem va'avadtem Elohim acherim v'yishtach v'yisi lehem v'chara'af Hashem b'chem va'avadtem eram el aretz asher nasalem. Sound familiar? That's the second paragraph of Shema, right? Again, that's what it is. If you transgress the covenant of Hashem, that he has everything that he has commanded you, and you go and serve other gods, you bow down to them, Hashem's going to be angry, and he will remove you quickly from this land. Now, what? 110. It's going to say the next chapter. It's going to start, and Yehoshua then gathers all the Shiftei Yisrael. So we don't know if this was just the leadership or representative of the people. The next one, he gets everybody together in Shechem, and then he gives a different type of goodbye speech. Now, by the way, notice there's no response. There was no Republican rebuttal at 11:30 p.m. that nobody watched. Okay, that lady in her kitchen.
But were there ever
That
like
was unreal.
Tochacha or any of those other things that ever happened? There were never.
No,
You're saying
no.
in general.
Right. Correct. And this is like Yehoshua's Tochacha. But there in the Tochacha, I guess also they gathered everybody. But here he's giving a farewell speech. Tochacha was never a farewell speech.
No.
Moshe, right? Moshe gave a really long. Moshe's farewell speech, as we know, took from Rosh Chodesh Shvat to Zayin Adar. So it was 38 days. However, what a 37-day speech. Right, so don't ever complain that I speak a long speech ever, never. Yeah, Moshe 37 days. Okay, what Moshe got suspended from second grade? No, different Moshe. So we will finish this up. So again, I think well, hopefully next week we could finish this. Then we're gonna have a couple weeks we could do Pesach, and then after Pesach, big surprise, big stuff is coming, big things are happening, which I'm sure somebody's not gonna like, but that's too bad. Whatever we can do to get Vivian back in the fold.
That's what she said.
No, I said in the beginning, I'm thinking of doing something with the thought of Rabbi Sachs. Some of the thought of, I don't know which book or what, how to do that. What?
Told me. She told me the only thing we need to do is finish Yehoshua.
I know, I'm trying to finish as fast as I can, but I can't get out of my own way.
She's
Yeah.
back once we finish.
Let's ask her if she likes Rabbi Sachs. I'm going to say,
Yeah,
do you like Rabbi Sachs?
I can vouch that she does.
Okay, very good. Amazing. Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Feel better.
Thank you.
I hope your parents feeling better too.
They're good.
Okay, Baruch Hashem.